Greetings! Oh, I've been out picking mushrooms this morning and they're so cute, but that's not what this video is about. Today I'd like to talk about the chocolate sapote. Has an appealing name. Sounds like chocolate, right? Everybody loves chocolate. Sapote, many of us like sapote. This is what the fruit generally looks like when you harvest it. It's green on the outside, like this. They're Mexican persimmons, is what these things are. Statospyrus nigra. It's a very, very, very dark form of the persimmon. It has a flavor a little bit like the persimmon. It doesn't, in my opinion, taste much like chocolate. It looks like it. Right here, this is a ripe fruit. All right, it's really soft. See, my finger sinks right into it, and you have to let it get to this stage before you can consume it, because like most of the American persimmons, we don't really have any non-astringent type on this continent, and so almost all persimmons that we have, whether the Virginianas from the southeastern United States or whether they're this type, they have an astringency. There's a chemical in it that doesn't break down until the fruit becomes completely ripe and squishy. Now, that's a problem, I guess, because it makes the fruit very hard to handle, unlike, like an orange or something where you peel it and you get sections, or you cut up a pineapple, cut up an apple, easier fruits to handle. This is not an easy fruit to handle because you have to peel the skin off the outside, and then there's a row of seeds in there in a ring, and so they have to come out of the pulp too. When you get done, you end up with something like this. Probably looks a lot like what you might have witnessed in Congress today. It's a brown, squishy mass. Not very appealing and not real easy to use either. That's one of the reasons I'm not that crazy about this fruit, is because the applications on how do you use this stuff, it's just not easy. Now, you could take it and you can add it into like a banana bread type recipe. Any fruit bread recipe will work with this stuff. Your persimmon cookie recipes that you use the hachia persimmons, and this will definitely work. In fact, it's very close to what we call the chocolate persimmon, which has a brown pulp like this, but is more highly flavored. So there's a lot of dessert recipes. You can make a persimmon chiffon pie out of this thing, but it's pretty much all, it's added sugars, added fats and things. I mean, last time I went through a batch of these to get seed, I actually ended up, because we had leftover whipped cream, that I blended the pulp with whipped cream and beat it. It was really good, but anything you put with whipped cream, and then I put it on top of waffles, again, a lot of added fat, a lot of added sugar, and so it's hard, to come up with a healthy recipe. Well, this morning, it's a little cool here, and I wanted a bowl of oatmeal, so I made some hot oatmeal. Usually, I'll chop up papaya into my oatmeal in the morning. The papin helps me digest. It's good for my guts and so on. They taste good. Nice mild fruit. Well, this morning I grabbed that bowl of pulp and I put about 4 tablespoons or more maybe of this stuff into my oatmeal along with papayas. And it was real good. There was maybe almost sort of an umami quality out of this fruit pulp being added to my oatmeal. Somehow it enhanced it. There isn't a lot of taste in it. It's sweet, it's fruity, and so on, but it's not very distinctive. So again, this has been known as the chocolate pudding fruit or the chocolate pudding sapote, chocolate sapote, and I'm going to go ahead and open this fruit for you so you can have a look on the inside. It is squishy and hard to handle. There we go. Ha! See? Here you can see a close-up of the interior of the fruit. You know, it looks kind of like chocolate pudding, sort of like combination of chocolate pudding, a little bit of axle grease, and maybe some twine. There's fiber in here. The usual taste test. All right, so yeah, like I said, it comes out just like chocolate pudding. Okay. Slightly pulpy, all right? Feel the fiber. Actually, I'm really a little bit greasy on the tongue. The flavor is definitely not chocolate. If you thought this was going to taste like chocolate pudding, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, I always say it's closer to whipped prunes than it is to chocolate pudding, but that isn't really true either. It hasn't got the real strong flavor of a prune. It's not acidic. The fruit is probably close to neutral pH. Brix is fair. The sugar content is fair. It's sweet enough to call it sweet, but it's not like way over the top like some fruit. You know, it's really dripping with sugar. Well, like the Japanese persimmon, for instance, the fuyus and the hachiyas, those are really, really sweet. Now, this is not as sweet as that. So it has the look, maybe, of the chocolate persimmon a bit. It is pulpy. There's body to this. So, I mean, the texture is a thing here with eating this fruit. You put it in your mouth, and it kind of smashes a little bit like cream cheese, maybe, with some sort of pulp in it. It has a fatty feeling. I'm sure there is almost no fat in this fruit. It's probably very low fat. I've not checked that. But it does have a little bit of that creamy, fatty sort of feeling that chocolate has. And so there the comparison is correct. It's not as sweet as chocolate, and it doesn't have that dark, rich, roasted taste. But, you know, like I say, it's a good candidate in almost any kind of a recipe where you're using a soft fruit pulp. It'll fit into anything because this fruit is not, it just doesn't have enough character to push your recipe one way or another, which is kind of an interesting concept, really, because it was present in the oatmeal. It didn't drive the oatmeal this morning. It somehow enhanced it subtly, and I enjoyed it. It was actually, other than beating this with whipped cream, it was my most enjoyable experience with the chocolate sapote, because this has not really been high on my list. I have 2 trees here, you know, and I'm into them at the moment because I had an order for the seeds and I didn't have it, so I had to get a bunch of fruit, and I'm going through and I'm pulling the seeds out. Of course, that leaves a lot of pulp to use up, and I may, you know, put more of it to work around here, but I got a feeling Gary and Kahoa's chickens are probably going to be eating a lot of chocolate sapote this week, and I'll trade it for eggs. Aloha, folks. Y'all hang loose.